Well, hello, welcome to the channel. This will be my first video, well, not first video, but first trip. I'm doing the Conondale Great Walk. I've currently stopped for a rest near Balumba Creek, which I will be crossing a couple of times. Very much rainforest here. I was going to wait till I got to the gold mine to stop, but then I found this really cool bench carved out of a solid log. So I've stopped here, readjusted my pack. First time I've used this pack, so I've had to make a few adjustments on the fly. Having a drink and some homemade trail mix, giving the old hips a rest. I've only done about 3 or 4 kilometres and my hips ache already. This is the Conondale Great Walk. It's a total of 55.2 kilometres. I think that's about 35 miles. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the video. I'll get back to you soon. I'm on the track up to the gold mine. There's quite a few steps. I've just spotted more coming. About 2 minutes after starting this trail. I wished I hadn't. Really beautiful place though. Water would rage down here in heavy rain. Okay, what I saw from the other side of the gully just a minute ago, with the stairs going up here, that actually is the gold mine at the top of the stairs. If I repeat anything on this video, you have to forgive me, my memory's terrible. I'll forget what I've said 2 minutes prior. I'm really not fit enough for this walk, but I'm doing it anyway. Right, here we go. So, bat colonies in there too, eh? They can stay where they are. So that's as much as we get to see. And just over the other gully there, other side of the gully is where I took a video from a second ago. So, a little side track off the main track from that last signpost I'll show you a photo of, or have showed you a photo of if I've edited properly. This is the Strangler Can, as they called it. They built this at some ridiculous cost, planted a strangler fig in the top of it. The strangler figs, if you don't know, are pretty much a parasitic plant. They will grow up the outside of a tree, and by the time the tree has been strangled and dead, the strangler figs usually structurally sound enough to support itself. So anyway, why here I don't know, but I'll link you to the National Parks website page that tells you all about this, and there's a little video about the construction and the artist that did it. I've just come down this hill into a creek bed, or watercourse. That's where I've got to go. So far this morning I've seen a bush turkey, a small hopping creature, potteroo maybe, and a small wallaby. I haven't seen any wild pigs, but I've seen evidence of where they've been digging and making a mess. Hopefully I don't come across one, they can be nasty. Okay, I can hear the creek again. Don't know if the camera might fix it up, but hopefully that's in focus. Artist Cascades. I'll stop for a break in the 7.5k to the walkers camp where I'll spend the night. Oh, very tired, very achy already. Well, my next rest stop was going to be the Artist Cascades, but I'm quite exhausted. I'm soaking wet. Hasn't rained, I'm just sweating like you wouldn't believe. I've just filled up the Grail water filter from the creek here. Well, this isn't actually a creek, I don't think. This is just a watercourse, and we have had rain. That leads into Balumba Creek. That track up there is where I came from. Just stepped over the creek there. And that's where I'm going next, up there. But I'm going to sit down for a while. Oh, finally reached the Artist Cascades. It's 20 to 12. I started walking at 20 to 7. I got about another 5 kilometres to go to the first camp. I'm supposed to cross the creek here somewhere, but I don't know where. I'll have to have a look around. That's where I just came from. There's a big step down off a route that I just fell over, landed on my back. Had to take my pack off. I was like a turtle on his back. I couldn't turn over. I'm going to stay here for a while, have a bit of a snack, cup of tea, enjoy the view. Well, I'm still here at Artist Cascades. I've boiled up the billy, made a cup of tea, and I'm just sitting here contemplating whether I want to continue. If I'm honest with myself, getting here was quite exhausting, and it's another 5 kilometres to the first camping ground if I can get across the creek. And I know I'm carrying too much weight in my pack, and I think I'm going to make a judgment call. It's too risky to try and cross the slippery rocks with this weight on my back. So I think I'm just going to walk back to the day use area, and from the day use area I'll wander to one of the campgrounds down there and put my tarp up down there until I get picked up on Thursday. I think it might have been the case of my ambitions my capabilities. No, my ambitions exceeded my capabilities, but you don't know if you don't try. So the rain's coming down a bit heavier now. I'm under a tree here. I'm a little bit sheltered, but I think I'll finish my cup of tea and start walking back. Well, I'm back at that bench seat. Eric's rest. Now it's Stuart's rest. I'm going to sit and have a rest. You can sit and look at the view for a while. I definitely got my ambitions, or rather I definitely my ambitions exceeded my capabilities, especially with this amount of weight that I'm carrying. It's too much for a walk of this length. I should have had nothing but dehydrated, freeze-dried, but I wanted to bring fresh stuff. I'm exhausted. It's definitely been a learning curve, and a steep one at that. I think if I'm going to carry this amount of weight, I need to stick to about 4 or 5 kilometres maximum. And even if I halve the weight, I think 10 k's maximum, maybe 10k round trip. The other thing I had to consider was the even if I got across the creek safely, it was another 5 kilometres to the camping area, and it was probably about the steepest part of the trip so far to get to that. And tomorrow's trip, after I had a few hours rest and sleep, would have been the longest part of the trip at 17 kilometres. My backpack would have been a little bit lighter because I would have eaten the steak and vegetables, but still I've struggled today. And if I'd gone all the way to Camp 1 and then changed my mind, it's further to walk back. One thing I'm pleased about, when I did the gold mine circuit, on the other side of that there was a big tree across the trail. I had to either climb over it or under it through the mud, or go bush and go around it. As soon as I started going bush around it, I regretted that decision, but thankfully that was on the gold mine circuit. I didn't have to deal with that on the way back because I bypassed it. Now I have to make a decision when I get back to the day use area. Do I walk to one of the camping areas and camp there and wait for my friend Brad to come and pick me up on Thursday, walk back to the day use area and meet him? Or do I see if I can't get a lift from the day use area back to Kenilworth and then get a taxi home? A taxi home would cost at least $100. I'm very dehydrated. I'm going to mix up a drink of hydrolyte, try and replace some of my salts. I'll talk to you soon. So I'm just cooking up some dinner. It's 7 o'clock. I ended up walking back to the start point waited for a while to see if anybody had come back to the day use area to give me a lift across the creek, because I couldn't be bothered taking my boots off and my long pants. So I just walked across anyway, started walking towards section 4, and I'd forgotten how steep the hill was, so I turned around and came back past the day use area, and I've set up camp in area 1. You're supposed to have a permit for here, but I can't ring, the public phone doesn't work, there's no mobile reception. I'll try and get a lift back to town tomorrow and go home. I'll see you all for breakfast in the morning. I dropped off to sleep fairly quickly last night, but I was rudely awakened by a couple of possums fighting. Sounded like they were right in the tent with me, but they weren't. So I didn't sleep well at all after that. And I'm on a little bit of a slope here, so I slid off. I was halfway off the ground chute this morning. That's me there. This is where I am. There's only one other person here. There's a public phone over there, but it's not working. So I might pack up and try and get a lift a bit later, or I might just move my campsite, try and find somewhere a bit more level. Cook some breakfast. I was so tired last night, by the time I cooked my dinner I didn't want it. So I'll leave the vegetables for the birds. There's some scrub turkeys floating around here somewhere. I just took a walk down to the creek, looked at a few other campsites, try and find something a bit more level. Looks like kiddies have been making dams. There's taps in the camping area, but they pump out of the creek, so you've got to treat the water. I just put it through my soil water filter and it's fine. Still a bit of mist about. So I just met a guy out on the road. He's going to be passing back this way after lunch. So I asked him if he'd be kind enough to give me a lift back into Kenilworth. So he'll be back after lunch, if he remembers, that is. So I'll get all packed up by then. Now, has this trip been a total loss? No. You know, the old saying, you don't know if you don't try. And, well, now I know what my limits are. I could have got across the creek at Artist Cascade, but the only way to do it safely would have been to double bag everything and wade across with it rather than try and rock hop and slip and fall. And then it was another 5 k's to the camping area and I was already exhausted because I am carrying too much weight. So I've learned a few things. I'm not as fit as I thought I was. The weight I was carrying is too much for a trip like this, which I kind of knew anyway, but I wanted to have a go. Yeah, so I made a judgment call on based on safety that it was best not to go any further. So I came back to the day use area, waited there for a little while and then walked across the creek. I could have taken my boots off but I was too lazy. Walked across the creek, started walking up to Balumba area 4. So I thought that'd be a nice spot to camp, but then I'd forgotten how big that flaming hill was. I saw that hill where it changes to bitumen and I thought, no. So I turned around, walked back the other way, back to where I am now, which is Balumba camping area number 1. I've been sending text messages to my wife, but she won't get them until I get into reception area, and then she'll get a whole heap at once. So yeah, as I said, forgive me if I repeat things because I can't remember what I've said in previous videos. I think I've got my capabilities mixed up with my ambitions. So, but hey, now I know, so not a total loss. Yeah, did not sleep well last night. I think I mentioned a couple of possums fighting. Then later on, it sounded like somebody using a tarp as a ski slope. Something with claws, but it's probably just sticks falling and sliding down. So, all the heavy rain's gone that we had recently, but there's still a lot of water around. So the creek's still flowing quite well. I really would have liked to have done this trip, but if I do it again, I'll do it with somebody else and I'll definitely pack lighter. I wanted some luxuries. I wanted fresh food, steak, bacon, all that sort of thing, but it just adds too much weight. So next time it'll be freeze dried and bare essentials. I used a couple of drum liners for a ground sheet. Because I'm sleeping on a slope, I pretty much slid off them during the night, but didn't get wet. Anyway, all in all, it was an experience and not a total loss. So anyway, I'll see if I can remember how to edit videos together and post this up on Facebook later this week, and or not Facebook, YouTube. Anyway, I think it might be time for another cup of tea while my milk's still cold. Big march flies here, but I've drowned myself in insect repellent. They haven't bitten me yet. I just noticed something. I think one of those possums that woke me up last night was chewing at my pack, trying to get to my food. This is a brand new pack. Rotten little buggers. Might be on the other side too, I haven't looked at that. Not happy, Jan. Hi folks, I hope you enjoyed the video. Obviously I'm back at home, I'm in the backyard because the acoustics in the office are quite frankly terrible. I just wanted to cover a few things about the video. Firstly, I went into it knowing full well that I might have been biting off more than I could chew, and I also knew that I had too much weight in my pack, but I wanted to have a go anyway and test my limits. Now I know. So as far as the creek goes, you can't see on the video what I could see, and I had a number of things to take into consideration. Now obviously my fitness level is not where I thought it was, and I was quite exhausted by the time I got to that point, carrying that amount of weight. The only safe way to cross that creek would have been for me to double bag everything in the garbage bags I had and swim it across, or wade across. That way if I fell over, at least I'm not going to hurt myself. Now if you push yourself to the point of total exhaustion, your thought processes aren't quite there. You start making poor decisions. Now, yeah, I could have pushed my emergency beacon if I got into trouble and had a helicopter come, but that's a waste of taxpayers' money purely because I made a stupid decision. So I made a judgment call to call it quits and head back to the start point, and that's what I did. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like, and if you've got an account, subscribe and hit the all notifications. Thanks very much for watching. See you later.